Good afternoon. I'm Mike Duffy from the University of San Francisco, and I'll just talk about two things that might add a bit to the discussion this morning and this afternoon. One element of program we've developed at the University of San Francisco is a way to help our students understand what we think of as a local, inclusive, sustainable economy. And that is that we are trying to have our students learn and understand about populations which are in our society disenfranchised or invisible. Some elements of this program are similar to elements of programs where people go to other countries to learn about poverty or to learn about groups that are not mainstream in the economy. But this particular program takes our students into our own communities to learn about local business that is inclusive and sustainable. The particular program I'll mention we have is called the Hispanic Market Immersion. Hispanic refers to particular immigrant communities in California whose native language is Spanish. Many of the people in these communities are undocumented and therefore excluded from many parts of the mainstream economy. In this program, we teach people in the classroom about demographics, the rate of change in population growth, the economic, social, and business realities of a disenfranchised community, but also its economic vitality and importance, because this is a relatively large community and a community which typical of people who are at lower wage end of the wage scale, people who in fact spend all the money they earn, so they have a significant local economic impact. What we try to help students understand is that the market can respond to groups isolated, in this case often by language or legal status. And the market response includes, we studied 2 domestic microfinance organizations in the San Francisco area, both of which are for-profit companies established really only to serve Hispanic immigrants, documented or not. And we also study a lot of product or commercial adaptation in the markets. For example, grocery stores. There's a small chain of grocery stores in the Bay Area designed with food products and employees who are completely geared to serving Hispanic people, immigrant people, with products and the quality of service they would be used to in their own country. And then after the classroom experience, we immerse the students in the neighborhood. So we leave the campus and take students into the businesses where they can, in every case where we talk to the founder of the business, whether it's the grocery store chain, a pharmacy chain, the 2 local microfinance companies, and a series of other businesses that we often go to a tax preparation firm, for example, that serves people in the Mission District of San Francisco. On one level, the learning is about business, it's about innovation, it's about responsiveness to demographic change by business, and it's about inclusive business in terms of understanding and involving the local community in the design of services for that community. On a second level, this is a set of experiences and learning which we believe helps our students see the unseen. That is, and for most of our students who are middle class, whether they're from the United States or otherwise, they often do not see and understand immigrant communities. They often understand immigrant communities only as newspaper headlines, often about bad stories about crime or about law breaking of various sorts, and in our country, lots of political rhetoric about problems with immigration. In our effort to teach the students about the business response to this large group of people, we also expect that they will learn about immigrant communities as individuals, as people who, by the way, work every day, who have families that they support and have unbelievably high aspirations for themselves and their children. So when they learn about what people borrow from in the microfinance companies, they're learning about ways in which these families are improving the options for their children, or in many cases, improving options in their home country for their parents, whom they support in starting their own businesses back in the home country with a microloan from a bank, really not a bank, they're lending companies in the United States. So we have a very important set of business lessons about innovation, economic change, demographics, but we also think we have a very important message about understanding human beings who are in immigrant communities and understanding somewhat beyond the headlines in the news stories about immigrants, about hard work, about the motivations of people to improve their lives. This program began as an experimental program. We first introduced it to an executive education programs, non-degree program. It is now integrated in our executive MBA programs and our one-year MBA program. And I'm looking now to try to expand it, that we will use these as a module for 400 freshmen a year in our university, that we will begin their career in the business school with an understanding of business as a responsive agent to change in the communities and responsive to people who are often excluded from the economy. The second, and so that's just part of the innovation cycle many of you study or teach about in your schools. We're trying to now standardize this program and integrate it across the school. So that's the stage we're at with that. The second thing I'll mention that I think is really important about the topic of the conference is it's so important, and several speakers already talked about faculty and staff, but hiring for mission is such a big problem if you don't keep focused on what that might mean in our schools. Our missions often include elements about diversity, globalization, topics about sustainability, but we often have a conflict in our schools where groups of our colleagues wish to talk about hiring only the best candidate for a job, but when they do that, they often mean best in a very narrow sense. And the very narrow sense of best often comes down to certain aspects of their doctoral program or expectations about which journals they'll publish articles in. In our school, we have switched the way we recruit so that we ask people, in effect, by reading what we write in our ads, to see if they would fit in with our mission at the University of San Francisco. And so we run ads that ask for people, for example, who will teach about microfinance and entrepreneurship in Latin America and who natively or near natively speak Spanish. This tells the person that we're looking for someone who has a deep understanding of another culture, another language, and a deep understanding in the case of this particular position in finance that we're advertising for right now, if you know anyone who could fit the bill. We're looking for someone who understands deeply the impact of entrepreneurship or microfinance in Latin American economies. That kind of very specific ad, I can tell you from the past few years when we've run ads like that, you get people who call you and say, I think you're advertising just for me. They recognize in the ad, it doesn't say we're looking for assistant professors of finance. It says we're looking for someone whose research and teaching will center on finance as it affects people in the developed economies of Latin America. We've run similar ads for people especially in the United States context, who do research and teaching in multicultural marketing. So we hired a year ago 2 experts in understanding Spanish-speaking consumers in the United States. Again, we ran ads looking for people who have expertise that is directed towards specific communities in the United States who have specific differential needs often in the mainstream economy. I think that hiring for mission can be achieved by promoting mission even at the stage where you advertise for the job. where you announce you're looking for people who will fit in with the goals of your school and your university. We hired for 2 people beginning in our school this month. We look for people who teach and do research in what we call green or sustainable practice in the hospitality industry, in which we have a large program. And we got unbelievable candidates who are committed to sustainability as part of their research programs and their teaching programs. But we got a narrow set of candidates, but each candidate we interviewed had this interest and would understand why sustainability in terms of research and teaching in a business school is an important part of our Jesuit business school's mission. So that is, I think, an important issue for all of us to think about as we hire, that there are ways to hire for mission that support the kinds of goals everyone's been talking about in the conference. So with that, I'll end, and I think we'll begin the open discussion.